I wore this to an office party. Nobody even cared. Some people even liked it. The accountants liked it a lot. It was a crazy party. Somebody was playing Frank Zappa music. One of the accountants put grain alcohol in the punch. Didn't even tell anybody. Then somebody Xeroxed their face. Then somebody Xeroxed their privates. It was a crazy party. The best part was when I did this. I didn't do it for reals, I just didn't pretend. Everybody said I was the life of the party. Even the accountants. One time, I lied on my tax form, and I got away with it. One time I did it. One time I went to New York City and I met someone who was normal. One time I did it. One time I went to California and I met someone who worked for a living. One time I did it. One time I went to Georgia and met someone who could read. One time I did it. One time I went to North Dakota and I met someone. One time I did it. One time I met an honest lawyer. One time I did it. One time I met a pleasant feminist. One time I did it. One time I saw a mime and I understood what he was doing. One time I did it. One time I went to Arizona and I met someone who liked Evmika. One time I did it. One time I met a politician who spoke out of the correct end of his digestive tract. One time I did it. One time I went to Arizona. I met a man who could distinguish between a four-wheel drive pickup and his own genitalia. One time I did it. One time I met a teacher who made enough money to live on. One time I did it. One time I listened to country music for 2 hours, didn't even throw up. One time I did it. One time I met a theater critic with credentials. One time I did it. One time I completely broke character during the performance. One time I did it. Audience didn't even realize it. One time I asked someone during a performance, what do you think of this piece? You with the camera, what do you think of this piece? No problem. Completely ignored what he said. Didn't have $1 for him if he said something positive, but I just ignored what he said. One time I did it. One time I stuck my head in a microwave oven for 3 minutes. It got hot, but it didn't even blow up. One time I did it. One time I ate a meatball this big. One time I did it. One time I sent Oral Roberts 1 penny. One time I did it. One time I told a joke and the audience either A, did not understand it, or B, didn't think it was funny. One time I did it. One time I fell out of this airplane 30,000 feet up, landed right on cold concrete, right on my head. Didn't even get hurt, didn't even bleed, didn't even have to go to the hospital. One time I did it. One time I blew my nose, a stream of snot came out, it was about that long. I walked around with it like that for 4 weeks. Nobody even said anything. One time I did it. One time I sliced my finger off in a Ronco Vegematic, and I put it back on with heavy-duty electrical tape. One time I did it. One time I put Jell-O, marinated artichoke hearts, black olives, chocolate chip ice cream, carrots, pierogies, lasagna, salt, pepper, whiskey on a big barrel. And I ate it. One time I did it. One time I put a cat in a Warren blender. Frappe. One time I did it. One time I blew my cookies at a restaurant right after I said, "My compliments to the chef." One time I did it. One time I shut up.